People call it the beautiful game, and I feel that way. It is the beautiful game.
Nothing compares, and so it's always just been something that I've found just as like a strong point of happiness, and I think I just keep doing that every day. It keeps getting better.
You know, it's hard to describe what gets you into it. you just love it. You know, you love everything about the game. You love being on the field with your teammates and trying to win.
It's very challenging and it's very demanding. It's also an enjoyable but a cruel sport, so it always keeps you coming back for more.
Soccer in itself is free-flowing. It's a 90-minute match. There's no timeouts, so you get the opportunity to have to make adjustments within the game. Players have to adapt to the environment, and not always the best team wins. So it's a love-hate relationship with the game. The objective is pretty simple: score more goals than the opposition, put balls in the back of the net, and get from point A to point B and do that effectively.
Soccer is more of a culture that fits everywhere. I think everyone can play soccer. It's a really easy sport to play. All it takes is outside and a ball. Anyone can play it. I think that's why it's so popular around the world.
Other countries around the world, like that's their number one sport. Here in America, like soccer's not number one.
You know, to be quite honest, it's no different whether it's in Germany, in Spain, in England, anywhere in Central South America than it is right here in our backyard in Utah. The difference is within the culture.
I know in America we take soccer very seriously, but in other countries like South America, they take soccer like it's life or death. My father served a mission in Colombia, and it was just so strange. Like whenever it was the World Cup soccer, the whole entire nation would close down because everybody was on their radios or television watching soccer. And I remember he told me about this one referee that made a controversial call during a soccer game, and 2 days later he was killed for it.
Around the world, these young men and women have grown up with a soccer ball at their foot, have appreciated the game for generations within their families, and the difference that I have found is soccer is their primary sport.
I feel like soccer people are only soccer people a lot of the time, and the people that are playing basketball are also doing basketball and football, you know, and other sports. So I feel like soccer is almost like a holistic brand of people.
Here in our country, there's 4 or 5 different primary sports, from football, baseball, basketball, hockey to soccer, and kids grow up in many different opportunities within the games.
They're so used to the establishments of the NFL, of American football, baseball, and basketball as kind of signatures of this country that I don't know that they would be really quick to take or to accept, something that's worldwide like soccer and say, okay, you know what, that's part of our culture too.
So soccer here is no different, but we are playing a little bit of catch up.
remember 7 years ago, nobody was wearing a jersey at an airport. While since like 2 years ago, I saw like tons of people wearing soccer jerseys, more than I saw people wearing basketball jerseys or like football jerseys.
The World Cup the other year was incredible to watch. I was in the airport, and normally they have football, American football, on the TV, and everyone's huddled around it watching. But it was really unique seeing soccer on it, and everyone's cheering and rooting for their respective teams to win. So it was really cool.
I think it's growing tremendously. I mean, I see professional soccer games all the time on ESPN, and it was only a few years ago you wouldn't see any of that because
MLS is growing. The fan base is growing. We're quickly becoming, one of the fastest growing sports at the top level. We sit in a unique area geographically, in a market where we have the Jazz, we have minor league, hockey and baseball. So soccer is an absolute perfect niche here in Utah.
You've got academies, you've got professional backing with clubs that have scouts that go out, and there's a lot of facilities that just in 10 years have come a long way.
You obviously have up I-15, Real Salt Lake, the USL team Real Monarchs, along with the women's team, Utah Royals coming in this past year. So, but they wouldn't bring that in if soccer wasn't growing here in Utah.
I moved to California in 2002, and I came back in 12. And when I left, there was nothing about soccer. But I came back here, and there's a gigantic soccer stadium in Sandy. So I thought, okay, I don't even remember what was there before, but all of a sudden there's this gigantic, coliseum in Sandy. And so that kind of made me think, yeah, awareness of it has definitely grown.
5-10 years ago, we didn't have the Real Monarchs or even the Royals, so you can see just as a professional level it's grown. We've got our program. It started 5 years ago, and I can only see possibly BYU, the University of Utah, also gaining Division I men's soccer programs. So I can see only within the next couple of years it growing exponentially.
Having Real Salt Lake come into town, with MLS in 2005, really helped to spur the interest of soccer, not just here in Utah, but really helped to put Utah soccer on the map.
Soccer was not always my favorite. Took me a long time. Basically, it took me leaving the country for 2 years, down in El Salvador, Central America, being amongst them. That's where it really started, and since then I've been playing. I follow everything when it comes to soccer, nationally, internationally, you name it.
Well, I think the fact that Utah has a multicultural background, there are a lot of Latin Americans here, there are a lot of Brazilians here. I think also you have a lot of Dutch and English and Germans that are here as well that have come in, and also LDS missionaries that have served abroad, and they've gotten a feel for the culture and they've come back and they've shared stories about it. I think that's made it more exciting and more real. And I think as people are more in touch with their own heritage, and if they've served in a different country, they see the beauty of the game, and it's exciting, and it's something different from what's here already.
The LDS culture, because people serve missions and then they come back and they fell in love with soccer on their mission, because anywhere else you go outside the United States, that's what they love is soccer. So I think that has helped, along with the professional soccer.
They're tied into the game in ways that they never were before, because they've experienced it in a different way that the U.S. never has been able to show those people. And I think a lot of it we draw with that LDS community. We draw a lot of different, diverse people here, and it brings that culture, that game with them, because that's their predominant sport. And I definitely think that has a big piece to do with it.
Mexico has a lot of academies that have already fully developed for soccer. I think the U.S. is trying to do something similar. As it continues to grow, they'll try to push towards more academies, but right now I think that's the main difference. Mexico already has a fully developed soccer system, so.
In Europe, they've been doing that for 30, 40 years, where they have the Liverpool Academy, the Chelsea Academy. And so they go to school, they attend school, and they focus on soccer through those 15 to 19-year-old age groups.
I mean, I've worked some camps with the team and stuff like that, and I've also seen RSL, they just built that new facility for, like, it's a high school and then like an academy as well, and they have like a huge facility and big training grounds and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's such a good thing to see, especially for the youth of this country, to see that kind of progression.
Those programs have recognized the need for not just player development, but advancement of these players. And to do so, they've brought a format to the game that has allowed these players to play daily, year-round.
We're lucky to have a program that is so passionate about soccer. They have done a great job of getting a lot of the youth to enjoy and have an aspiration to play for Real Salt Lake.
Starting next year, you'll see the Utah Royals on the women's side starting an academy program in the DA here as well. And, I think we'll start to see the benefits, not just for the women here at the collegiate level, but professionally as well.
So I think it starts with that professional teams for players to look up to.
I played here back when it was a club, and we had absolutely no support from the school. We had to pay our own way, we had to pay for our travel, we had to get permission to use the field, and this was in 2004, so I mean it's not too long ago. We talked to President Cederberg at the time. He said, hey, what do we need? We talked to him, what do we need to do to get soccer here? He said, well, if you guys go raise $1.8 million, it's between you and wrestling. So we raised $2.2 million, and he said, well, we're giving it to wrestling. So I think soccer at the time really wasn't even given a chance. But as you can see now, there's a big difference between BYU and UVU. And this is one thing that UVU has that BYU does not, is a men's Division I soccer team.
Utah Valley being the only Division I team, I mean, it's pretty young in its like relevancy around in the West. But it's still like we still come out here and compete with all the big guys at the Pac-12 and places like that. Like the competition's still there. It's just a growing place. I feel like in the next 5 or 10 years, we're definitely going to be something to compete against, like a big name.
And I even have a friend who's from California who goes to San Jose State, who's playing tonight. And he said, while we were on missions together, he said, UVU actually is one of the best teams. And he said that to me, and I thought that's so funny because he's never played them, and he lives in California, but he knew about UVU's program, and I think that says a lot for what is done here.
In our short 4 to 5 years of existence, we've not only captured a Western Athletic Conference championship, we've competed in the NCAA tournament, but in our first 3 or 4 years, we were a top 25 ranked team. So we quickly ascended to a national powerhouse in the game of soccer. And, to be quite honest, it was right place and right time for me, but it was really the right place and right time for a Division I program here in Utah. And we continue to see the growth of the game and the passion for the game within our community.
That's probably one of the best aspects of the team. It might be because we're the only Division I program in the state, but our fans are always there for us.
I honestly just love our fans. I mean, they show up rain or shine, good weather, bad weather. They're always here out supporting us, and they're amazing. Love them.
We have average top 20 attendance in the country for our first 5 years as a program, and I think the women's has grown that same way. I think they were 9th or 13th this year in the country. There's nowhere else in the country like that. Most of the time the fans are up in the stands, and our big fans are down on the ground with us, and it just creates a different experience that you can't really explain unless you're there and in the middle of it.
I've always said this about UVU, like even though our fan section has been pretty small compared to like other universities, they are so crazy. They're wild, they're fun, and just the environment that the fan section has, the den has, is just so much fun that when people come and they're like, oh, this happens every single game, that's one thing that makes it grow, is that just how fun we are, how crazy we get. It's honestly just addicting. So, and people see it and they want to be a part of it.
Knowing how soccer goes, like it's pretty cool. Not many people understand it, but once you understand it, I feel like you would get to love it.
I got about like 3 or 4 soccer jerseys just because I think they look cool. And I've seen it at the mall sometimes, so I was like, that's a dope jersey. I don't know what team I got on or what player, but I like how it looks, so I'll wear it. I think I have a Messi jersey. It might be. Is it? Yeah, see? He must be popular then if I got his jersey.